We're live.
Oh.
Hey guys, Evans here. Here live with Katie, our transformation coach, as well as Alyssa, our office manager here in Dover and in Milford and in all our locations. So the power of technology. So super excited to just chat with you guys a little bit about like how strict do you really need to be to see results, and I know we've had some conversations recently. We've even heard some of our clients talking about this COVID weight, so you can probably relate to the fact that you've been stuck at home, things that you were doing to be active. You can't necessarily do right now, like, playing tennis or team sports and things like that. So, we're going to talk about like, what can you do to not only get off the weight, but how strict you really need to be. Alyssa made a comment. Well, you want to share your thought process from this morning, Alyssa?
So I was talking to the team and I was like, I followed my macros yesterday. I was super excited because that's kind of been a struggle the past month. And I was like, my goal is to follow my macros every day this week, and then on Saturday have a meal that I don't have to track and can sort of like have a cheat meal. And then Evans made a noise, and I was like, "Oh, is that a bad idea?" So it sort of prompted this discussion.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the answer to that, we're going to answer her cheat meal towards the end. Well, we want to look at that there's different levels of fitness, or different ranges that people are in their weight loss or fat loss journey. And based on where you are in that journey is going to determine how strict you actually need to be. So for someone who maybe has no muscle definition, a guy who's over 20% body fat, a woman over 30% body fat, they're going to need to do some things to get into healthier ranges, but it's not extreme. Not extreme as someone who's a lot leaner. So I don't know, Katie, you want to talk about maybe some of the things if someone's, in that, obese range and they want to make some changes. What are some small things that they can do to kind of move towards their goals?
So people that are carrying a lot of extra weight, I think that it starts with awareness of what you're eating. So it's not necessarily tracking like down to like the very last macro, like this is exactly how much protein, how much carbs, how much fat. It's an overall awareness of just starting to getting used to tracking, starting to look at, okay, like this is how much I'm eating on a daily basis, because a lot of people don't even know that. And then you start tracking and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that my breakfast had 0 protein and 1 million grams of carbs in it. So just getting that awareness right off the bat, is oatmeal a carb or a protein? Just that general awareness is going to help you make leaps and bounds when you're sitting in that obese category.
Nice. And that's so powerful, so, and that's how we get obese. If you think about it, we don't get obese through awareness. We're not like, hey, I'm just gonna, down this and eat this and do this. It's because I didn't do these things in a state of consciousness is why we're in that range. And that's not a judgment of how good or bad of a person we are. It's just the fact that I didn't pay attention to my oil and I'm behind time. Now I need to like change an engine or something. So yeah, that's definitely the first range. And on the exercise is moving, right? It's just getting into a habit of 15 to 30 minutes every single day, having exercise, So someone who's a little further away from their goals, they don't have to be as tight on their compliance, or they don't have to be as strict, because minor tweaks are going to have big outcomes. And, I can say even for us, when we're coaching our clients, each client's programming is going to look a little bit different based on where they enter the journey that we're with us. We were on a coaching call earlier. One of the coaches, he said that, true commitment is sticking it out until you hit that goal, and so for some people that may be, I'm just learning like, what is a protein, or I'm learning what are carbs. And for, I know for people who may be aware with carbs, a lot of them are like anti-carbs. Like, I don't eat carbs. And I'm like, why not? They taste good. They're actually good for you. So definitely something where maybe you're looking at your fiber intake, though, in that range. You're looking at how much sleep you're getting in. You're looking at maybe decreasing restaurant or eating out foods or alcohol intake, stress management. Those are things that you're looking at in that realm, but it's a loose. It's not as tight like Katie said about tracking to the T, but it is important that you do track because that's going to build that awareness. It's like those guys who never, all the guys through my life. I remember going into the gym and, looking at these guys that are diesel. I'm like, I want to be in shape. Well, they all had these little books, and in the book, they wrote down this how many reps and sets they were doing for exercises. But the people who weren't tracking, they didn't have the bodies like the people who were, so then we have another leaner category, right? That's the guy or gal who's maybe at an average level of leanness. They're 15 to 20% body fat. They can notice some muscle definition at this point, a little bit, for females, about 25 to 30%. You look good in a lot of clothes, but you're not as tight as you really want to be. So sometimes when you're on your journey, people are like, but you look okay, but you're like, you don't see me naked, so I got goals, so this person has to dial it up a little bit. They can't use the whole, hey, I'm aware of my carbs and protein. We know you're aware, so Katie, what would you tell this person, or what are some tips that they can use to kind of dial it in even a little bit more?
Yeah, so if you're someone who's trying to get to that level of leanness, you do have to start tracking a little bit more accurately. So you're looking at tracking like 80 to 85% of your meals now, and getting a better idea of how much you're consuming. You're also dialing things like your exercise. So you're probably exercising 30 minutes multiple days a week. I'd say at least like 5 days a week. Looking at things like your alcohol consumption, how many alcoholic beverages are you consuming a week, how much vegetables. You should definitely have a vegetable at least like with every meal, and limiting the processed foods. So you really are cleaning up your diet a lot more at this point when you're getting to that level of leanness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest struggle at this level of leanness is staying on track. What I've seen a lot of times is, someone gets down to this level and it's like, yes, I can fit this outfit. I haven't been able to wear it in a while. But then it's, I fall off the grid, and sometimes we treat the moment off as if it was an eternal. It's like the snowball effect. It's like I had one bad slip up, so screw it. I'll start again on Monday. But they don't realize screwing the whole weekend cost you the entire week. So, and I think this is a great point to interject the answer that Alyssa was asking about, which was, if I follow my meal plan all week, can I have a free meal or a meal that falls outside of my plan? And I would say absolutely yes. And the reason why is because if you can maintain that 80 to 90% compliance throughout the course of the week, your body's going to crush that one meal. But if that one meal is every night, that's not 80 to 90% compliance. So if you're hitting all your macros and you say, I remember when I cut for my bodybuilding show. I mean, I had a free meal every week. Well, until like 7 weeks out, then like there was no, like, there's nothing's free at that time, that's a real critical piece there where, it's about creating a lifestyle. And that's the reason why I despise fad diets. And the reason why is because they have this very short-term psyche without reality tied to it. And I know there's a bunch of people that love Whole30 and swears on it and loves all these different things and swear on it. But what do you do after 30 days? And they all give this excuse. Oh, well, it's just to kind of reset things. But you set yourself up for failure, because what you think is reset is this ultra strict, unmanageable life. And if I wanted to even get to that level or that intensity of strictness, I would not do it out the gate. It'd be a progression of slow changes over time that I determine that, you know what, this is what I'm going to eat or not going to eat. If not, every time you eject out of that thing, the rubber band effect happens. You let go and it's like, I'm going in. And then you feel guilty about going in. So if you're like me and most of our clients, then you wind up emotionally eating, but no one emotionally eats cucumbers. It's definitely not cucumbers, right? So now I'm emotionally eating more things that are going to take me off track for longer, you know? And then it's, you know, how do I feel about myself? I'm a bad person. And we make all these judgments. And it may be a couple of weeks or months before we can swing back into start getting development. And the challenge is when we start again, we realize that those 2-3 weeks that we took off put us back more than 2 or 3 weeks. So we don't start back where we left off, so to speak. We're further behind, and we have to overcome that psyche of, oh man, I knew I shouldn't have been here, and by now I should be further, and all those kind of things. So I think if you have regular scheduled, whether they're free meals or cheat meals, whatever you want to call it, but it's something you're planning, then you'll have a better response and success along the way. You know, Lynn even, you know, shares here that, you know, she's done that, and, you know, she usually goes 6 days, do great, and 1 day, not as much. And then boom, she needs that whole week to do whatever she needs to do to get back on track that next on that day. So it's a good pattern to follow, you know, to ensure that we're staying on track. And then, you know, we're getting tight, you know, at 12 to 15% for a guy, you're looking kind of good. You know what I mean? For a woman, you know, 22 to 24 is getting kind of lean. You know, that's like, I feel comfortable in a bikini. So what do we got to do if we're in these other ranges to kind of really dial down and get into lower ranges?
So when you're working to get to this point, now you're really dialing the tracking. So you're tracking 85 to 95% of the time, and you're pretty tightly hitting your macros. So, I mean, for us, we call that within plus or minus 5 grams on your carbs and your protein, within 2 grams on your fat. So it's not that you're definitely at this point not just aware of what you're eating, you are planning your days in advance to make sure that you're hitting the macros that you have assigned to you. It's drinking a lot of water. It's getting a lot of sleep. So we say half your body weight in ounces of water, at least 7 hours of sleep, because you need that time to recover so that, you know, when you're working out hard, which you probably are at this point, up to 6 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes of higher intensity exercise, and you need that recovery time with your sleep. It's limiting how much you're eating out as well, because when you eat out, you don't know what they're cooking with all the time. It's kind of hard to control the portion sizes. So at this point, you might be giving up a little bit more as far as the eating out, definitely giving up the processed foods, so that you can really tightly track what you're eating.
Absolutely. Now, do I need to be at 12 to 15? No. So this really has to deal with, like, where am I happy and what are my goals? And this is something that, you know, when we go on our journey, we have to remember, why did we get started? Because it's easy today, I think, with social media and other things, is like, I want to have abs like Katie. Well, I may not want to work out 6 days a week. You know what I mean? I may not want to rock at that high level of intensity, you know? So I have to realize what do I want for my health and my body, and ensuring that the activities are in sync with that goal. Huge. I know for me, one thing to be able to maintain this level of leanness, I have to control stress. You know, so our metabolism is more than just the calories that we eat, you know, and the exercise that we do. I was actually tracking a 90+% compliance, almost everything that I put in my mouth. And I was struggling to maintain this. And my coach was like, look, until you start going to bed and controlling your stress, you're not going to see any change. And the reason why is because inflammation grows in your body as you're stressed out, and your body, it's in a defensive mode. The last thing it wants to do when under attack is to spend money or burn calories. You know, it's kind of like people who have lost their jobs, you know, during this time frame. They don't want to spend a ton of money. So it's the same concept that your body's having right now. so you have to do that. So once we get there, for some of us, we do want to look like Katie. We do want to have that beach body. So that's that for females, 19 to 21%, and there's even lower percentages from there. And Katie's like, no, I'm a little lower than that, but it's okay. The 9 to 11%. So that beach body, that's where you're gonna see some vascularity build up in your arms. For a guy, you typically don't see that like readily available six-pack abs until you're about 6 to 7%. But your abs will show, here and there. For women, you're looking really fit. You're very comfortable in a bikini and things like that. So, talk to us a little bit of some habits that we need to dial in order to get it to there.
Yeah, so when you're trying to hit this level of leanness, you're probably tracking about 95% of the time, like you mentioned, and again, hitting those macros tightly, working out 5 to 6 days per week for probably closer to an hour, if not a little bit more. You are eating a lot of whole unprocessed foods, and I think that's a really big one. It's not just like eating only protein shakes and protein bars. It's eating whole foods that grew from the ground or ate something that grew from the ground in order to support your body with the micronutrients as well as the macronutrients. And again, with the eating out, so now you're probably eating out like no more than once a week, getting lots of sleep. And then, like you mentioned, that stress management, it becomes even more important because when you're working out that much, again, like you said, if you're raising those cortisol levels, if you're stressed out all the time, you're not going to recover from those workouts. You're not going to get the results that you want if you're not managing your stress somehow.
Absolutely. And then one tip, so you see how how strict you need to be is relevant to where you want to be, but you don't start at this level of strictness. You start up top and you follow the rules in each area. Therefore, you can enjoy the journey. The challenge, the reason why a lot of these fad diets work is that you start here. You start out, you do our boot camp class, 60 minutes, 5 days a week. You eat whole foods only and everything else. The first 2 weeks, you feel like junk. And then after that, you start seeing some great results in your body. And you're like, yes, you take this great before and after pictures. They use you as a ploy for marketing for their program, for the next guy who wants to do the 21 or 28-day program. And 3 months later, you look like you never did a program. You're just out $500. So you don't start here. You start at the top and you work your way down. And one of the biggest things for me, I realized is that I had to pretty much double my water intake. When I was at this level of leanness, I'm drinking, about, a gallon or more, sometimes up to an ounce of my 1 ounce per pound of body weight at this time, just to be able to flush, all the extra little bit of fat and fluid through my body. And then we do know that, you do have those fitness model leanness, that's 16 to 18, that's 6 to 8 for guys. And honestly, for most people, they don't have a lifestyle that can sustain that, so it's possible. But one thing I learned, especially doing my competition, when I competed, I was under 5% body fat. Everybody that was in the show, all the guys, you had to be super, super lean in there. But, when you get to too low in body fat percentages, for women, it throws your hormones off. For guys, it throws your hormones off. It wrecks with sleep and schedule and stress management. You are a bear to deal with. So it's like quality of life trumps aesthetics. Now, it's really good if you have a shoot that you need to do, but you meet some of these people away from like show season, and you're like, are you the same person? What I learned was the power of backdrops. They were taking pictures, a whole bunch of different types of pictures, with one body. And then they release those pictures a little bit at a time throughout the course of the week. Now, we do have some people that are young, lean, ectomorphic builds, and they came out as, college athletes and things like that. Yes, when your testosterone is 1790 or 2000 plus, you could do some really cool things. But once you creep over 40, those rules don't apply the same way. So hopefully you guys found some value in this today as a way to kind of help guide you on how to get lean, and specifically how strict you actually need to be to meet your fitness goals. So Evans here at Senior Fit. Thank you, Katie, for all your wisdom. Thank you, Alyssa, for your great questions, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.